sweet nourishment. Never knew if we looked we would see. I never guessed you and me. Never knew that this could be. Can't believe the strength in words we have found. Strength in soft words, the sweetest melody to my ear. With every little word you're giving me. Strength in soft words, I love the harmony I hear. I'm loving the harmony. Best friends will always be, so please don't stop loving me. I thank the Lord for the heart He's given you. Like the verse from Solomon's song, your soft words make me strong, and I love the way you say I love you. Strength and soft words, oh, the sweetest melody to my ear. With every little word you're giving me. Strength and soft words, I love the harmony I hear. I'm loving the harmony I hear.
Peace and blessings, everyone. I hope all is well. First of all, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to my channel, and those of you who are my faithful and loyal YouTube subscribers, I definitely like to thank you for being loyal to me and being faithfully subscribed to my channel. I know that it pretty much has been like a while since I posted something. I haven't posted something since October of last year. That's why I made that video about Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and I and there's a lot of things that happened. It was confirmation. Um, I will say at the time, um, I did make a prediction that a lot of things were gonna go down on Capitol Hill, and obviously that came true because I made that prediction between December and January, and it had came true. A lot of things happened, like with the Capitol riots that we had, stuff like that. So, um, but I will be posting more. First of all, I will say that I will be posting more content in the future, and I will be definitely making announcements one day pretty soon, probably the next month or so, or the next 2 months. Between March and April, I will be making announcements about what I will be offering here, and also what I will be pretty much bringing to the channel. So let's get started here. What I want to talk about is Venus trine Saturn. Because it's a Venus Saturn aspect going on right now. Because we got Venus in Aquarius, and it's making an aspect to Saturn. And it's aspect in Saturn. Um, I'm going to talk about the squares. I'm mainly going to talk about the squares, the sextiles, the trines. Because see, me personally, I have natal Venus trine Saturn. Um, and with that, well, Venus trine Saturn, because Venus represents pleasure, Venus represents how we love, our love language, or even it represents how we deal with money, or how we deal with material things, or our attitude and approach towards material things. Um, and also it's also about our passion. What makes us passionate? How can we prosper from that? Um, so by me having natal Venus trine Saturn, Saturn represents um, karmic lessons. Saturn represents karma. Saturn represents the past, present, future. Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is also our limitations and challenges. It's not. It's not something that will limit. It's not. It doesn't mean that it's something that it's not a planet that a planetary energy that will restrict us. It shows us about our own restrictions and limitations that we have on ourselves, and how we have to challenge those, or how there's a challenge to us, and how we have to challenge those and break free from it, and how we have to um we get or how we have to overcome limitations and obstacles, and how we have to establish boundaries and set boundaries, in that sense. But the harmonious aspects of trines, the conjunctions, um, and the sextiles. The squares are the challenging places are the squares, the oppositions, the quincunxes. Those are the challenging aspects. So, okay, I'll first of all start with Venus trine Saturn. With Venus trine Saturn, what it does is that it helps give you it basically give you, because see you it's like those people are loyal. Mind you, it depends on what Venus and what other planets and placements are making aspect to Venus and Saturn. Keep that in mind. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry this theme necessarily, because it depends on what else going on in your chart, with those aspects. So, because for example, you may have Venus trine Saturn, then you may have Pluto. Um, you may have Saturn square and Pluto, or Venus opposing your Sun. Things like that. So, but to keep it simple and short today, this video mainly gonna be about Venus trine Saturn. I will talk about the other aspects of that later in another video, in other segments, but this is gonna be mainly about Venus trine Saturn. With Venus trine Saturn, it gives you, what it does is that it helps you mature over time. It helps you mature early on. Maturity, because that's the difference between um, that's the difference between immaturity versus maturity. To me, I understand what they talk about it, so how society relating it like age wise, but to me, maturity is, I guess we have certain standards set, things of that nature. But to me, maturity is when you're aligned, mind, body, and spirit with the present. So you could be you going to flow that you are in alignment with your energies, and you're going to flow of the energies, and also going to flow of time, and you realize that life goes on with or without you. Meanwhile, immaturity is when you're not aligned, mind, body, and spirit with the present time, your energies, and you restricting yourself. You know, you're stuck in your old ways, and that's Venus square Saturn, which I will talk more about it. So, with that being said, with Venus trine Saturn, they can tend to learn things at an early age. They tend to have a lot of acquaintances. Their acquaintances are mostly with, I wouldn't just say older people, or elderly people, or older people, or they tend to be around them a lot, because they can tend to grow up so fast too. Their acquaintances can more so be with people, and they can have bonds with people who's already experienced, at things, whatever their experience at. Also, on the other hand, with that Venus trine Saturn, that also um give the ability. It's like, whereas they can be with the person, for example, who's already rich, who's already wealthy, and then they can use that as a, they can tend to knowledge, they can benefit from that. It's like they can benefit from it. Or a person who already have their shit together, they can benefit from that. um Venus trine Saturn people, as stated, they tend to grow up so fast because they learn to cook at an early age. Do things like cooking at an early age. They may learn to drive at an early age, or have even maybe have to fend for themselves at an early age. Also, they can learn things quicker, like in terms of like with video games. Like if they've been having trouble like with dating, whatever their area of focus, that whereas they have karmic debt they have to be paid at, they have an understanding, it can be beneficial in terms of like lead way. It can kind of help them advance, like they can have advanced growth and understanding spiritually, and evolve, rapidly. They can it's like they can learn through video games. Like for example, if their main aerial in terms of karmic depth that they have to resolve is dating and the karmic lessons they have to learn, they can tend to come across like dating games and stuff like that that can tend to show them that. It can tend to show them that. I'm pretty sure it becoming prominent at this time with this Aquarian energy, because Saturn rule both Capricorn and Aquarius. We have transit Venus in Aquarius, and Saturn is there, and so I'm pretty sure it's like it's helping them overcome that. It's helping them overcome whatever challenges. It's like there's there's rapid growth. Um, Helping whoever overcome the challenges. In terms of dating or whatever it is. It's like it more so like synchronicities. It's more so like ways that resources that come in that will help them pretty much, and they can take advantage of it if they catch it, and if they can follow their intuition, and if they can catch it, and if they can see the overall picture of it. It's like synchronicities, if you get what I'm saying. um Also, they may have people come along who's like business partners who are already good at, like for example, like like doing stocks, trading stocks, things like that. They'll come in and they will teach them that. And those people with Venus trying Saturn, they can learn from it, and they can take that, and or they take whatever bits and pieces of resources to take action on it. They can take that and they can, start their own, or they can or they can basically, they can work with that person. Just put it like that. They can work with that person, and that's their way. They can benefit from that here. So, um, also with Venus trying Saturn now, people, they could be people with that aspect now. They could be loyal to the point. They can be real loyal. That's a good thing about it. But however, they can tend to stay in situations too, whereas, or they may tend to latch on to situations whereas, they end up where if that person end up having a downfall, they're gonna be affected by it. So they have to be careful. I'm not saying nobody is perfect, but they have to be careful who they commit themselves to. They have to learn to follow their intuition. Yeah. Um. Also, they have to be careful who they build bonds with. They have to be very careful who they build bonds with. And make sure that the partnership is fair. Make sure nobody not trying to take over their ideals or anything that nature. And they need to make sure that, I wouldn't just say that if that's something they can align with, or you know, but it doesn't suppress their individuality. What they want. Their needs. Or whatever the case is, or what they have going for themselves. Because, like I said, depending on where it's aspecting, it depends on where it's aspect. Let's say if somebody natal Venus trine Saturn is in. Let's say somebody Venus is in the 10th house and it's trying their Saturn. Let's say if their Saturn is in the 7th house. Because see, Saturn in the seventh house represents delays, but it can represent like it's like that partner that will come, later in life, you know, uh, um, or it's like you finding that compatible person later in life, or that person that can be compatible with you, but you have a lot of karmic depth that you have to go through, a lot of karmic lessons you have to go through before you get to that point, right? Um, so tens is about downfalls. That represents Saturn. That represents Capricorn. Ten is about downfalls, but ten also is about career. It's about status, fame. Ten is also about latching on to things, you know. And so, with that being said, if seventh house represents relationships, partnerships. Seventh house can even also represents legal legalities. I'm getting tongue tied. Please excuse me. Uh, Legalities. It represents like music. It represents like or yeah, it represents music. It represents like justice, fairness, balance, like, or it represents like the opposition. It represents submissiveness or dominance. A balance, finding a balance between that. Also, because that's the house of Libra. Also, it represents here. It can represent somebody working across purposes. Also, it can represent sacrifice. Seven can represent sacrifice. And in this case, if this person here with their Venus in the 10th house trying their natal Saturn in the 7th house, true enough, they'll be subject to that person's that's a good aspect in a way, because they'll be subject, they could benefit from that person in terms of like what they have, material things or what they have, but yet at the same time, they have to be careful too, because they can be in a situation with a person or in a relationship with a person, whereas it's like the situation is not in their it's not completely in their control, if you get what I'm saying, in that sense. It's like their life is being consumed in some type of way. It's not completely in their control. And in some situations, they have to be careful about signing contracts, because it's like their life can be carved out for them, cut out and carved out for them in some way. It depends, especially when it comes down to signing contracts, like with agents and stuff like that. So it's like you definitely have to be careful. People with that placement or with those aspects or to the degrees, like the seventh and the 10th degree, or during those houses, they have to be careful. Even though that's beneficial, but they have to be careful too. So, um, people with Venus trine Saturn also tend to be in a relationship with older people, or tend to attract older people, or they may have been attracted to older people when they were younger, and they may have learned things like sexually or love wise or whatever as they were coming up. They may have learned things at an early age. That's why I said they tend to grow up so fast. They tend to grow up so fast. They may have even have had older people influence them, like in terms of like, whether if it's sex or having getting drinking or whatever it is, you know. And those people had to be careful about um, selling their soul, because they, especially if it's in the seventh or 10th house, or if you have 7 and 10 degrees, they have to be careful about selling their soul, because they do not want to sit up there and sell their soul, and then you know so. And it also about value. It's also about value, your own values, what you truly value. And it's about you not letting people, you know try to mold you into how who they see you, or what they see you as, instead of you maintaining your individuality. and you maintaining control of your own destiny within that situation is what it is. People may find at an early age they probably learn things like through different groups. If it was like synchronistic and it caught and it they received it later in life. They received it later in life. Um, like the downloads are pretty much what is that wisdom of what their path were. That's why I said they receive synchronicities along their path. They can pretty much their karmic debt can be paid quickly. It's like they pay their karmic debt quickly. Versus people Venus square Saturn, they may have a hard time. Um, and also here with people with Venus Saturn trine, they can even use what they got to get what they want. They had to gift for gap. They can use what they got to get what they want. Um, it like stuff can come to them. Like I said, stuff can just come to them. Also here it is they can also people with Venus Saturn square. Um, they can even not Venus Saturn square. I'm sorry, but Venus trine Saturn. Because I will touch on Venus Saturn square another day. While also people with Venus Saturn trine, like I said, they'll make good relationship partners. They'll be loyal. They'll make good relationship partners. They could be the mature one in a relationship. They also have a wise soul. They have a wise soul. Um, they could be good teachers. But like I said, they have a wise soul, or they get wise like they end up coming wise at an early age. They end up gaining a lot of wisdom through experiences or other people's experiences. They gain wisdom at an early age. Also, Venus can represents like your I know Venus can represent in a way like in terms of like your features, your because the ascendant represents your appearance, but it's like with your features, it has to do with your features, and you know in terms like what your features will look like, things of that nature, and with Saturn trying people, they may end up growing hair at an early age. They may end up growing hair at an early gray hair at an early age, or they could go bald at an early age, like start losing hair at an early age or so. Like their hair may start deteriorating. Um, and they also had to be careful not to let people use them for their money or use them for what they have. They had to be careful who they, as I say once again, who they be loyal to. That's not just relationships, but friendships or business partnerships, because they can be taken advantage of. But also they can it's like they can get rich at they can become wealthy at an early age, but it's like nobody may not even know. It depends on where it's placed at, because see nobody may not even know that they got, because they it's like they can tend to like it's not no big deal to them, but it's like they're rich. Like for example, they could be living in they don't have to be living in no mansion, no $3,000 house. They could be living in a $30,000 or $40,000 house and driving a Nissan Sentra or a Toyota Prius, something like that. So with that, that there, um, so they're those type of people. Um, in a sense, they can also be social butterflies too. Like I said, depending on what Saturn is aspecting at, but they can even have a tendency of going into like, if they want to, depending on what's aspect, they can even have a tendency to go to like the porn industry or something like that. They can even have that tendency to do that. Uh, like I said, it's about pleasures. They can have people navigating towards them, like in terms of different groups, like occult groups or whatever. You know, try to lure them in, so it's like it's gonna bring a regime change to their life, or it's gonna consume their life in a major way. And it's like they may receive money and all, but it's like they that's a big price come with that. They have to be careful about that. That's why they have to think twice on it. They have to be careful about that. Also here that it's about scammers too. uh like a Saturn place in the 11th house, it can deal with scamming. It can be about scammers. Even in the fifth house, it can be about scammers, or lessons. You may, people like with that, they may receive people who come through like business partners, or relationship partners that could scam them in some type of way and use them for their money and take their money, things like that. So they have to be careful when it comes down to scamming too. Um, so they also will have the gift of they can have the gift of healing people in some way too. They can have the gift of healing people in some way. Um, and like I said, it depends on what other aspects it's making. I think I'm going to stop it right here because I know it's kind of getting a little longer. But I will be back with a Venus square Saturn series. But definitely like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, and I'll definitely be back soon. I'll definitely be bringing in more content, and also, as I stated, I will be making announcements within the next month or two about in terms of what I will be bringing to the channel. But peace and blessings.